Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem of Arkadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, pushing his word truthfully and sincerely. Shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. Say shalom to you Akim out there. And this is a quick sit-down lesson for In the News, November 13th, 2022 at 4:47 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Sunday afternoon. And the highlight of this news article from Al Jazeera, MSNnews.com, this story was covered about 3 hours ago. And the highlight of this news article, and it reads for In the News of November 13th, 2022, and it says, Israeli airstrikes in Syria kills 2 soldiers, wounding 3. It says the Israeli airstrikes kills 2 Syrian soldiers and wounding 3 in a central province of Homs, Syrian state media has reported. And it says a photo right here. Israel has carried out hundreds of attacks on government-controlled parts of Syria in recent years, but rarely acknowledged or discussed the such operations. It says the Syrian air defense responds to a hostile target over southeastern Homs province, intercepting several of them. The state-controlled news agency SAN said on Sunday. Citing a military source, it says the strikes hit the Shayrat air base, inflicting casualties and damages. The Syrian state television broadcast footage showing air defense intercepting missiles of a Israeli aggression. The Syrian Observation for Human Rights, which is based in London, said strong explosions were heard when 4 Israeli missiles hit the Shayrat air base in Homs. It said that the missiles attacked target the positions of Iranian-backed fighters in the area. It says, because, we already know Iran and Israel can't stand one another. So the Israeli aggression strikes once again in those territories, which is supposedly it's Iranian-backed facilities, And it says that the strikes occur after Israeli warplanes were flying over the neighboring Lebanon, which airspace Israel sometimes crosses to carry out attacks in Syria. It says Israel has carried out hundreds of strikes on targets inside the government-controlled parts of Syria in recent years, but rarely acknowledged or discussed such operations. It says Israel has acknowledged, however, that it target bases of Iranian allied armed groups such as the Lebanon Hezbollah, which have sent thousands of fighters to support Syrian President Bashar Assad forces. It says on Tuesday, airstrikes is eastern Syria along the border with Iraq target Iranian-backed fighters and inflicting casualties, the Syrian the opposition activists said. According to the 2 preliminary officials in Iraq, some of those killed in the attack were Iranian nationals. The U.S. military said it was not behind the attack. Some Syrian opposition activists blames Israel. An Israeli strike on Damascus International Airport and nearby military posts outside Syrian capital on September 17th killed 5 soldiers. Luke 21:9. when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Right, because the reason why the end is not yet, because you're going to see more of these things increasingly in the latter days, especially in the Middle East. Because you got the Israel versus Iran, and then you got potentially Iranian-backed groups of allies in the Syrian region, potentially Hezbollah and other factors as well too. That's backed of Iranian allies against Israel. That's why you're seeing continuous strikes by the Israelis, a cross-border conflict. That's why I brought out Luke 21:9. You know, the commotions of wars, endless, increasing proxy wars between the nations and different kingdoms, and that's what we're seeing, you know. And these things are going to continue to build up and increase now so more than ever, especially in the regions in the Middle East, even though we're so used to custom of hearing these things, but these things are going to continue to start building up on a day-to-day basis as we see these things in the news, especially hearing these things, alternative news around the world, you know. Bring it out again, Luke 21:9. But when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by, right? Gonna continue to hear these things, the commotions of wars, rumors of wars, nations rising up against nations, kingdom against kingdoms, you know. And let me go to Mark 24:6, precept, in Matthews 24:6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. That's what we're hearing right now. Seeing that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Matthews 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. Right. Because we're seeing an increase of famines, increase of pestilence, increase of earthquakes in diverse places. You know, we're seeing these things taking fold on the planet Earth, you know. And definitely, especially these nations rising up against one another. And I'm going to bring out another story as well, too, what recently happened over there in Turkey. I think like the central part of Turkey, Luke 21:25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon, and upon the stars, and upon the earth disgrace of nations, with perplexity and the seas of rain water. Right, because we're seeing the distress of nations around the world with these uprisings of these protests, nations against nations within their own country and outside of their country as well too. We're seeing these things taking fold, you know. And then you got citizens of these countries going against their ones that's in leadership, and they opposing certain things that they write into law. And there's an uprising of that. And that's going to increase as well too in the latter days. And I'm gonna bring up this incident happened in Turkey. And this is a news article from the New York Times. And this is the scripture of Luke 21:25 that I just brought out, of the distress of nations with perplexity. And that's what we're seeing, you know, this as well too. This is a news article, as I mentioned again, from the New York Times. The highlight of this news article, and it reads, it says, a deadly bombing in Istanbul is being investigated as you know what attack. The blast killed at least 6 people and injured 81 others, and shattered a years-long sense of calm in Turkey, as its tourism. They're in that Ishmaelite spirit, because the scripture says Ishmael is a wild man. These other nations got that spirit of Ishmael as well too, being a wild man, and that's what seeing that as well too. It says, I just want to add a note to that, and I'm gonna read it again for edification's sake. It says, the blast killed at least 6 people and injuring 81 others, and shattered a years-long sense of calm in Turkey as its tourism industry tries to recover from the you-know-what demic. And this is a video. Okay. So that was, as you seen, a little 35-second clip right there of what the incident happened over there in Turkey. And it's right. The video shows that people fleeing from an explosion that killed several people, meant to say Slovakia, and wounding dozens of others near a Taksim Square, one of the city's busiest areas of Turkey. It says, and this was published November 13th, 2022 at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is published by Ben Herbert and Shavik Timur. It says a bombing attack struck a bustling pedestrian thoroughfare in central Istanbul on Sunday, killing at least 6 people in what officials said could be a you-know-what attack, and shattering a sense of calm as Turkey tourist industrial works to recover from the demic. The attack was the deadliest in Turkey more than 5 years, and the authorities offered few details in the hours afterwards other than to say that were investigation of a possible that the bomb had been detonated by a woman. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed to punish those behind the blast. Right, because I believe the president of Turkey, he wasn't in the country of Turkey at the time. I believe he was at some type of meeting. He made that announcement and he heard it. And it says efforts to make Turkey and the Turkish nation surrender by you-know-what will not reach their aim today, as they did not in the past, Mr. Erdogan told reporters group flight. Right. Oh yeah, he was in Indonesia. Fly to because I seen that on RT. It says flying to Indonesia for the group of 20 summit. It says the explosion shook the heart of most of the Istanbul's most popular district, a short walk from Taksim Square, leaving the bloodiest passers-by strewn about the pavement and sending waves of visitors rushing from the area. By Sunday evening, Turkish officials had put the number of people wounded to 81, with 2 in critical condition. The blast occurred in front of a clothing store of Atatürk Avenue, a broad pedestrian street lined with historical buildings, shops, restaurants, and traversed by a red and white trim. The area is crowded day and night with Turks and tourists from around the world, scrolling, shopping, watching street musicians, and buying roasted chestnuts and Turkish ice cream. They said the avenue was even more crowded than usual on Sunday because one of the Turkish premium soccer teams was scheduled to play near in the evening, drawing fans to the neighborhood. And one thing, keep in mind too, you still have the Turks and Kurds. They still cannot get along with one another. Because one group blaming the other that they're evil, kill innocent peoples and stuff like that. So you got to keep that in mind too, because Kurdistan people and the Turks, they can't really get along with each other. So that's one to keep an eye on as well too. But continue on with the news article. It says the avenue was even more crowded than usual on Sunday because one of Turkey's premium soccer teams was scheduled to play nearby in the event, drawing fans to the neighborhood. Like many parts of Turkey, where the economy relies on tourism, the area is around the Istanbul, if I pronounced that right, and suffering in recent years as travel bans and fear of the you-know-what kept many tourists away. But the area rebounded this summer as the pandemic waned and the weak tourist era made Turkey an attractive tourist destination. And it said about 4:20 p.m. Sunday, a large boom shook the streets as an orange fireball rose to the sky, according to the video shared on social media. And it says pedestrians fleeing the area after an explosion rocked Istanbul, the popular avenue on Sunday. Ambulance and sirens blaring rushed to the area as security forces coordinate off the blast site as police helicopters circled the overhead. They first thought it was a natural gas explosion, said Shurha Sin, a 30-year-old real estate commission who was on his motorbike a little more than half a mile from the site. People were scared, crying, running away desperately. Mr. Sheen added, I started to tremble. If I had been in a little bit of hurry, I would have been there. It says the Justice Minister, Bakat Bazda, said later in a TV interview that a bag had exploded near a bench after a woman sat there for more than 40 minutes. He said there was two possibilities. Either someone detonated the bomb after the woman left or it exploded on its own. The bomb was believed to have been including nails, increasing impact of the explosion. It says a more Bazak said the bombing broke a 5-year stretch which Turkey appears to be moving. The past deadly attacks that had struck in the city's previous years. Be back one momentarily.
I knew I'd be in the signal. You heard that. You heard that. You heard that.
No, that's
good. Nothing else. Legs still
Bob,
bother
there's your plate there.
you? Your legs still bother you?
Yeah, a little bit.
When you in that chair, don't be sitting down. Look. Legs like that.
Where do I go from here? American Monster, all new tonight at 9 on IG.
When you go to sleep tonight, if it get worse, then you're gonna have to
we can get all that we need, and then a little bit more.
shower. You know what I mean?
Right.
Stop it while the
Right.
Thank you, Nature. Nice to see that life is a little chaotic.
and creating new targeted blends to help. So when our sleep, stress, and immune health are thrown off, new nature-made well blends can help us find
It's
balance.
not pleasant. I understand what you want.
Where can you go for ladies?
Maybe it ain't some pain. It's funny, but it's not funny. But at the same time, all my friends
Where can you get that perfect gift
older
for that?
than me, they had.
And hot cocoa
I
mustache.
had pretty young. I'm like,
Where can you lose track of time all while saving time at the same time? Lowe's, actually. It's the best place to get everything you need for the holidays.
Yeah, that's true.
that's something you cannot run from.
Yeah, that's true.
Yourself as old as you are.
Bro, thanks for putting Huh?
The Fablemans, in select theaters now. In theaters on Thanksgiving.
So back to so Slovakia. I'll start to talk to my step pops, but yeah, back to what I was saying. Back to the news article at hand. Yeah, they said the bombing broke a 5-year stretch, which Turkey appears to be moving past the deadly attacks that have struck the city in previous years. The early New Year day in 2017, which was a while back, at least 39 people were killed and dozens of others when a gunman attacked a crowded Istanbul nightclub. That attack came a few weeks after at least 38 people were killed and more than 100 wounded. The two explosions, including one outside of a soccer stadium. And they said the Turkish state has also been at war for decades with the Kurdish military base in the country's southeast. Yep, I just mentioned that the Kurds and the Turks can't really get along with each other. It says they have launched deadly attacks in civilians and security forces, and the you-know-what who belongs to or inspired by the you-know-what, which is rule, the so-called cavalcade in Syria, Iraq, and until Israeli 2019. The often attacks public places, Turkey killing civilians. Right, the public places in Turkey. I meant to say, let me rephrase that. Public places in Turkey killing civilians. In 2015, the two explosions rocked the heart of Ankara, of Turkey capital, killing more than 100 people and have gathered for a peaceful rally in what officials call the deadliest you-know-what attack on modern Turkey history. The blast occurred near Ankara main train station just as the Turks and the leftists were preparing to march to protest the resumption of armed conflict between the Turkish state and the Kurdish militaries. But such attacks have grown rare in the last few years, which is why people near the site Sunday bombing felt such shock. I felt paralyzed by the fear of how I am going to go out. The Zia Idea, a doctoral student, wrote on Twitter saying the explosion have revived memories of a wave of an attack years ago. It says condolence message pour in from Europe, Middle East, and beyond, with Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO, saying the alliance stands in solidarity with Turkey. The Turkish Football Federations also postponed the soccer game that had been scheduled to take place nearby. So yeah, Salakia for the long read of that. And I'm gonna bring out that scripture again. This is the book of Luke, chapter 21, verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, which we seen a couple of days ago with the blood moon on the election day. That was spiritual. It says, and upon the earth disgressive nations, right? Because that's what we've seen. Upon the earth disgressive nations, nations going against one another, against different kingdoms, different nations rising up against one another. These rumors of wars are heating up. The uprisings of the people of the world, you're going to see that increase and heat back up once again as well too, And Matthew 24 and 6, the Luke 21 and 9, Luke 21 and 25, those reference scriptures of, the increases of the proxy wars, commotions of wars, of nations rising up against one another and disgressive nations. So that's what we're seeing. And it's going to increase more and more and more, Even though we're so used to accustomed to hearing these things, which is common, but it's going to build up and increase more and more and more, Because these are signs of what we've seen that's taking place on the planet Earth according to the scriptures and according to Yahweh Shema Shai, So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashem, Bakar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, preaching this word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom in the ball.